Yes.
So, I'm
Hi,
so
darling.
excited to be here.
Hi, everybody. Right.
So, this is a real treat. We have Bozoma Saint John from Uber. She's a chief brand officer there. She's joining us here, but she is, without a doubt, one of the best at what she does. She is one of the most sought-after marketers on the planet, but she's also someone who's built an amazing personal brand for herself and who's really made a career about making change. And I'm really excited to dive into all of that today.
Yes, me too. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
Are we ready? Are we ready? Oh, you don't sound ready. Are we ready?
Hey.
Because I'm ready.
So let's start with Uber.
Yeah.
That's your job. That's what you do. You've been there for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about, you talk a lot about this idea that you're not going to be the savior of the whole company. You went there to make the brand stronger, make the brand better, and to tell different stories, but you're ultimately there, you say, for culture and to make the place amazing for your team. What does that look like?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of things. I mean, let's not get it twisted. Like, I got a job to do, And my job is to figure out the storytelling for the company, right? And the brand of Uber. So the combination of, what are the innovation stories about tech and what we're developing? What are the personal stories of drivers and riders? What are the stories about how we all interact in pop culture and how we bring that to life? And so for me, it's a multi-layered job.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, yes, for the culture, for the culture.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's all talk about it. It's like our representation for people of color and women are at dismal numbers, especially in the executive ranks. And you can only increase those if the pipeline is strong. And so this, idea that we don't have enough or we can't find people and therefore the pipeline is not strong so we can't get executive leadership is a load of crap. I would use stronger language, but I'm trying to be nice on this Saturday morning. You know what I mean? So I really think that there is an opportunity for us to change that and to be representatives of what that change looks like.
But so what does that look like? Because it makes my blood boil a little bit, and I hear it all the time. I don't know how to hire for diversity. Where's the pipeline? There's no talent out there.
That's crazy.
It's bullshit, but...
Crazy.
What do you say to those people? Do you even engage with them?
Yes, I engage with them. I engage with them in a very hot way, okay? You don't want me to engage with you when I'm pissed. Like, right. Seriously, you don't want it.
Yeah.
But it is crazy because to me, when we think about what the pipeline looks like, first of all, the population numbers are telling us that there are more women than men. So you can't tell me you can't find women, right? How many women are in here?
Show of hands.
You know what I'm saying? And then, whenever some, racist situation happens, people are like, well, I'm not racist because I got a black friend. I'm like, well, then find your black friends and put them in a job. So, I mean, to me, I'm just like, so we're talking about pipeline. We're talking about we can't find people. I'm like, why? Looking at all these beautiful women, and then we got all these black friends. Let's just put them together and put them in the work. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to say the next time I hear that.
Yes. Hashtag find a black friend.
Find a black friend.
You didn't know we were going to go there this morning, huh? You didn't know that. Okay.
We're starting out strong. How do you think about, when you walked into Uber nearly a year ago, I think they're having a tough time. There is you were the first person in your job, and there is a very real need for someone to think about brand. But did you think about your own personal brand at that point? Did you think, hey, maybe this is gonna ding my reputation, I shouldn't do it?
Well, let me tell you something. There have been very few moments in my career where I've made a change where people have been like, yeah, that's a good idea. Usually what happens to me, and I don't know, I'm starting to feel like this is a pattern, where I look at a job, I'm like, I think I'm going to go do this job. And people are like, the hell are you doing? Like, why would you do that? Yeah. But for me, it's all about following, the feeling, the intuition, called inner voice, God, that voice that comes in that says, yeah, you should really go and do this thing over here. regardless of what the rest of the world is saying, or your friends, or your mom. My mom has a very strong voice as well. But even in light of that, it has always been for me about following whatever my passion is.
Yeah.
I liken it to like falling in love.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I'm feeling it, and you can't really explain what it is. You know, if I'm feeling it, I'm going that way. You know, regardless of what the temperature is. And so I have not necessarily said, okay, well, this is the strategy. You know, this is how I'm going to change my brand or move my brand in this direction. Because at the end of the day, my brand is my passion. Yeah. You know, it comes through in the authenticity of what you feel from me. And I can't be authentic if I'm over here like, ooh, okay, now I've got to make this move for that and that move for that. You know, that's not authentic. That doesn't work. So to me, the real truth of brand is the authentic self. And it only comes true when you are following the path that is set for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your authentic self is something that I think probably everyone in this room like knows a little bit about. You're very unfiltered on Instagram. There's something really amazing about it. Every time I hear you speak, it's really like you're not like mincing words. Like you're being honest and you're sort of being very articulate about it. And it seems like that comes from a place of really being confident in the things that set you apart. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, for me, like I grew up, I was born to immigrant parents. I grew up in the South, and I always thought about like the things that set me apart were things to maybe like not talk about that much, right? And that was growing up, and that changes over time. But it seems like your experience has been very different, and you've like cultivated that sense of like really showcasing what's special about you.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, here's the thing too. I feel like there's a lie that has been told to us, especially women. You know, that somehow we have to put our head down, you know, be understated, be humble in order to gain respect. And I disagree wholeheartedly. I think we need to celebrate ourselves more. We need to show up when we say we've done something, take the credit. You know, there's too many times when you're in the office and, you know, you've worked on a project or whatnot, and your colleague, you know, is like, we. No, not we, I.
Yeah.
I did that. You know?
Yeah.
And I've often coached, you know, women on my team or mentees to practice the I statement.
Yeah.
You know, it's a muscle. You know, you got to practice it because it feels uncomfortable at first. But, you know, it's like, yes, I did that. Again, another hashtag, I did that. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, it's, you know, for us, we have to build that muscle of celebrating our accomplishments, of celebrating our sisters, you know, of celebrating those who have done well. Because if we don't do that, no one else will, truly. You know, and so for me, it's like, yeah, I'm on the gram celebrating me every day. I'm like, look at all this. Like, why don't you celebrate it? I would. So I do.
How, like, have you ever been, I can't imagine you haven't, but like, what do you do when someone is like, oh, like, you're celebrating you? Like, I actually don't think that's great. I think you're being too aggressive. You're being too,
because they're
like,
haters.
Braggy. Yeah. But what do you say to them? Like,
you're a hater. I mean, no, honestly, if somebody says to me, and you see I'm clapping now, right? If you say to me that I'm celebrating myself too much, what I want to know is, well, what is there to celebrate about you? Let's celebrate you too. You know what I mean?
Oh. Because
for me, I'm like, there is something to celebrate about each one of us. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just about like me and what I'm doing. Like, what are you doing? Let's celebrate that as well. Because if you're noticing that I'm celebrating myself too much and that gets on your nerves, that means you're not celebrating yourself enough. You know what I mean? Because there's not enough noise going on. So let's all celebrate ourselves.
Oh. Yeah. Speaking of celebrating yourself, I think I want to talk about, like, you've had this incredible career and you've built a beautiful brand both for a lot of great companies, certainly Uber, but also Apple Music, also Beats. You are an exceptional marketer, and I want to make sure everyone here walks away with some like clear takeaways in terms of how do they market themselves, right? So say you're a woman in this audience and you're like, wow, like Boz is incredible. I want to do what she's doing, but like maybe they only have like a couple thousand Instagram followers, and maybe they're like, I am too busy like putting my head down and doing the work to like get noticed. Like, what do you do then? Like, what's your advice for those guys?
Well, I mean, there has to be a balance, a combination of things. You know, yes, for sure, let's do the work well. To me, it's, again, this idea that, success comes because of glitz and, shiny things. I'm like, that's not the case. It's like, think about anything. It's, it's like, in order to shine, you got, actually, the quote is, if you want to shine like a diamond, you got to be willing to get cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like the work has to be done. There is no escaping that. And so for me, like when I think about what I'm doing constantly, people ask like, okay, well, you've built this brand, how do you keep it up? I'm like, well, it's not about keeping up the brand. I am actually the best at what I do.
Yeah.
Like I challenge you to find a better marketer than me. You can't. You know what I mean? You just can't. You know what I mean? So that's the number one. And maybe there's somebody out here too. You're like, no, I'm the best. Great, fantastic, good. You know what I mean? Let's all be the best. Like Calvin said, we the best, But I do think that there is something really important about understanding the foundation of that. That we must excel in the work that we're doing, and whatever work that is. And then next, again, how do you elevate so that you are celebrating that work, celebrating the accomplishments? Because it's not enough to just put our heads down. We have to break that habit. Because what happens is we are passive for promotions because of that. We don't ask for the right amount of money because of that. All kinds of consequences happen because we are not being assertive in our celebration of ourselves. So let's not get it twisted. This is not just some, superficial celebration. This is indeed about getting to the top and making sure that we are noticed.
Having made it to the top,
Oh, I'm still going.
You're still going. There's further. I mean, you're carving out new paths now.
Okay, listen, there's still a summit to climb. Amen? Okay.
Having made it to the C-suite, I'm perpetually dazzled by the way you sort of handle questions about tokenism, about, there's always like loaded questions about like, as a black woman, you've made it this far. Like there's some kind of assumption there that like, oh, did you make it because you're a black woman? Or like, is this like an affirmative action thing? And like that opens up a whole other like can of like prejudice, I think. But you handle those questions like beautifully and like they just like roll right off. But like what is the world like, what can the world look like? What does the world look like in which like we don't get those questions anymore?
Right.
Like what does the world look like for your little girl who's like here in the front row?
I know, Layel's here. Shout out Layel.
Like what can we all do to make a better place?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is that, the change comes because of us. Right? The change comes because we're the ones who are going to force that change. Again, I feel that, in this world in which we keep talking about the pipeline or not enough or, how can we break the glass ceiling? Well, we're all rising, to keep crashing that ceiling. Yeah. So that's going to happen because of us, because of our power. Like, we're going to do that. But next, the question about tokenism right now is one that really pisses me off. Yeah. Like, you talk about, like, don't get in my way. When people assert that, we're saying that, oh, well, you got this job because you're a black woman and, the brand needed to change their image and this and that. And I'm like, that's insulting.
Right.
It's insulting to my resume. It is insulting to what I've accomplished because I got receipts, okay? So it's like, my point is that like, no, I'm in this job because again, let me say for those in the back, because I'm the best at what I do. Not because I'm a black woman, but because I'm the best at what I do. And being a black woman is just the sauce.
There you go. It's too bad we don't have handheld mics to actually drop on the ground. I want to go back to confidence because very few women can get up and like really own that. And even like you are the best at what you do, but there are so many women who are exceptional at what they do and they still can't say it, right? I think it's challenging. So like, what do you suggest for someone who like maybe like doesn't inherently feel it like in the same way? Like what's a baby step forward?
Well, I mean, it is practice, really. Yeah. These are built muscles. And so I'm not necessarily even advocating that everyone needs to yell it from the rooftops. Like, don't do that if you don't feel good doing it. That's okay. We can all find our ways of our own celebration or having sort of the confidence to celebrate. I also employ my girlfriends. So employ yours, to do that. Because honestly, it's like, what better way, right? It's like you walk into a situation, or you know what it is. It's like you're going in for a big presentation or a big meeting or a pep talk about anything. Who do you call? Not Ghostbusters, you know what I mean? You call your girlfriends, you know what I mean? Or somebody who's gonna tell you how dope you are, how amazing you are. Those reminders are so important. And the inner voice, that inner dialogue that we have with ourselves is equally as important. And that is a built muscle, because how many times do so I don't know, everybody gets out of the shower sometimes, right? And you look at yourself in the mirror like, daggone it, if I could just, But honestly, it's like those type of negative self-talk is what actually diminishes our shine. Then we walk out of the house feeling less than, right? And so for me, it's a constant journey of building the muscle of reminding myself how dope I am every day. I mean, honestly. And so to me, it's not like, you don't need to necessarily, wake up every morning feeling flawless. But like, can you talk yourself into flawlessness? Yes, you can.
Every morning.
Yeah.
I think something that you keep bringing up, it's, lean on your girlfriends, like amplify the voices of other women, of othered groups. There is like this running thread of an idea like that we don't necessarily have to all compete with each other.
Oh, right.
But there is like this competing idea that like, I can see that world where we don't have to all compete with each other, but there is like this prevailing like sense that like there's only room for one Black woman, there's only room for one Indian woman, there's only room for one whatever. And like there is like a prevailing sense in culture that people are pitting women against each other.
Right.
How do you handle that?
Lord. Okay, now we're about to start preaching some more. No, honestly, the thing is, again, that's another subject that just makes me so mad because that is the habit of a ruling set of people, white men, hello, okay, who have said that. Yeah. And it is not true. It is a lie. There is more room for us. We do not need to compete with each other. We need to crack open this entire space so that we can rush in there. So for me, it's like when I see another woman who is trying to do it, who is trying to make it, who is trying to get up into that next level of whatever she's doing, I'm going to support her because guess what? If there are more of us in there, then we have an army. And now I got people at my back.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So that's the way that we're going to build this is that all of us are going to do it. We're not going to compete with each other. We're actually going to push each other. The more the merrier in this case.
I love that. What is something like, how can we do that today? Like, what is something that every woman in this room could do to push another woman forward, like today?
Yes. Well, actually, I do really believe in the circle of sisters.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I have my text group, that those sisters in that text group, listen, okay? They told me today how dope I am, all right? I sent them a little selfie. I was like, how I look? They were like, girl, you the finest. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's right, So I do believe that we have the power, even right now. It's like, we do have ourselves in order to help us accomplish anything, actually. Whether it is, like I was saying, you need to feel like you look fine as AF. I won't say it because Lael's right here. You know what I mean? Then that's fine. Or, again, you need the pep talk before that big meeting, the big presentation, or to just get up and go, or to have that conversation with that person you can't stand. Or any of those things. Like for me, it is about the circle of sisters that are going to help push us forward. And like, again, I can't say it enough. I love celebration. I celebrate my sisters all the time. It's so fun. Like the other day, Janelle Monáe did a cover story for Rolling Stone, in which she talked about her freedom. Listen, I haven't even done my post yet because I'm just so filled with joy. I'm ready. I'm so filled with joy and I can't wait. Like I'm going to big her up so much. So for me, it's like, how do we do that for each other? So that again, you pick somebody and say, okay, you know what? It's you today. We're going to big you up today because by doing that, really all boats rise.
That's amazing. I have my text thread is like in that corner over there,
That's
and
right.
I feel like
your
they're
textbook
looking
is
dope
over
as
there?
hell.
Yeah. Okay, you know?
That's incredible. I want to make sure that we take time to open it up to the audience for questions because I know you guys have a lot of them. Do we have a runner? Because we have a question right there.
Oh, we've got loud voices. Girl, look at your sweater. Is that a sweater you have on? It's a dress. Girl, you are fine as hell. Okay? Yes. Okay. Look, you see this sweater she has on? This dress she has on? Amazing.
What is your advice for dealing with white male bosses bullshit?
Oh, okay. See, she looks so cute. I didn't know she was going to say that. Okay. You know what? It's interesting that I've had my fair share of bullshit in my career. And again, quite honestly, it takes a combination of things, because there's no silver bullet to fix the issue. It's one, yes, making sure that I have the strategies and the confidence to address it head on. I rarely do things in the moment because I find myself anyway, I don't know for everybody else, I find myself sometimes unable to correctly address the situation when my heat is up at 1,000. You know what I mean? Sometimes it also helps for me, again, I'm just going to keep going back to my circle of sisters because it's so important to me that I get advice and thoughts from that group because sometimes they can see things more objectively than I can, right? And sometimes there's some truth in whatever I thought was bullshit that I actually needed to hear. And so if they tell me, I might listen. I won't listen from him, though. I'm going to listen from them. And then the last piece is actually addressing whatever that issue is. I mean, I'm talking head on. As you can tell, I'm not passive aggressive. I'm pretty direct. But I've become more strategic in my direct feedback because I always want it to be constructive. Because I could curse you out if I want to, but I want it to be constructive so that you learn about your own bullshit so you won't do that to somebody else. That's what I do.
We have one in the right over back there.
There. Hello. Okay.
Yes. I'm going to compliment everybody today. Your eyebrows are popping. Yeah.
How do you make a difference between celebrating yourself and people perceiving you as, you think you're the best or you too much ego or narcissistic, thanks for the word. How do you balance it so you're like, no, I'm saying I'm the best because I'm the best?
Yeah.
And,
it is a thin line, but here's the thing, is that I don't believe I'm narcissistic. And so therefore, if you think I'm narcissistic, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
thank you.
Yeah. No, but there is real truth in that because I think we do feel that, right? Oftentimes we will stop ourselves from doing something because we think somebody else's perception is going to stop us. It's like, I'm not responsible for other people's perception of me. I'm only responsible for how I feel every day. If you spend your whole time trying to fix how everybody else sees you, you're going to tear yourself apart. You'll be left with absolutely nothing because you will cut away all the edges. You'll cut away everything that's good and unique about you because you're so worried about what this person thinks or that person thinks. If I post this, what's that person going to say? If I say this, what's that person going to say about me? If I wear this skirt, what are they going to think? If I wear that color, what are they going to say? Like, what in the hell are we doing? I cannot be responsible for everybody else. I'm only responsible for me, and I'm bad.
Go further back.
I have a question. Hi. You're fabulous.
Yes, girl. Okay, earrings. I see you, hoops.
I have a question about friends.
Yes.
I wanted to get your advice on hiring friends for the job.
Ooh, girl. Yes. Okay. Ooh, okay. So this is let me think about this one because I do believe in hiring friends. I do. Again, actually, let me take this back to something even bigger, which is, again, when we talk about diversity and inclusion and hiring practices, I always say, like, if you're a hiring manager, I want you to hire women and women of color. Like, hire. And I realize that some people might say that's biased, but I'm like, have we seen the numbers lately? I think there's some biases elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you gonna say that's biased when you got 98% men running up in here? There's no bias there. You know, that's crazy. But about friends, I think that's another area in which we have to be careful. We have to be self-aware. You know, that if you are hiring friends to work for you, we have to be self-aware in what that means for the friendship. You know, how are you creating boundaries within that so that work stays work and personal stays personal? If you're unable to do that, then you can't hire them, quite frankly. Regardless of how talented and amazing they are or what the opportunity is, you're like, okay, you know what? I heard about the job opening down the street, girl. You know, go get that job and help them get that job. But honestly, it is about the boundary setting. And then if it's a job for another department within your organization or company, I highly recommend that because, again, you know, we only get better if we've got more numbers. You know, the army only grows when we have recruits. So for me, I'm like, recruit your friends to work in the company in which you're in. And let's get popping.
One more.
Oh, okay. Hello, hair color. Girl. Okay, amen.
First of all, you are an absolute inspiration to me, and I'm sure to many others. As a mom, and a mom I know you are yourself, you're extremely busy, all over the place. I follow you on the gram. How do you find a balance?
Yes. Okay, so here's another lie that we've been told, that we must have some balance. I don't know who made this up. You know what I'm saying? And where in the hell is the balance? I'm looking for it. I can't find it. You know what I mean? If somebody knows where the balance is, can you point me in that direction? But on a serious note, balance for me is how I am trying to manage how I feel. Again, being very in tune to what is happening to me psychologically and physiologically, right? That sometimes there is, you know, the bake sale at school, for instance, right? And I gotta catch a flight. You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna go to Ralph's and buy those cookies. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put it on a plate and make it look like I baked it, but I ain't baked those joints, okay? And next, you know, there are certain tricks that now I apply. You know, it's like, for me, I know that Lael needs to understand where I am and where I'm going for her to feel comfortable, right? I can't disappear. And so we spend time at the beginning of the month going over my travel schedule, my calendar. She knows where I am. She could tell you right now where I'm going to be tomorrow, you know? And that gives her a sense of confidence about knowing where I am. We use technology, so we FaceTime all the time. And now we have this new app, Marco Polo. Okay. Oh, okay. You the Marco Polo. Okay. Listen, I ain't know nothing about the Marco Polo. We had to set up some ground rules because the Marco Polo is a video app, basically. So she can leave me video messages and I leave them for her as well. So that regardless of the time zone I'm in, I can call, she can see my face and hear my voice, right? And it also allows me to know what's happening at school. I'm checking in on the friends and other things. The grades, you know what I'm saying? But it is about trying to figure out what works for me. You know, and by the way, what works for somebody else doesn't necessarily work for me. And I try to absolve myself of the mommy guilt. You know, the guilty feeling of missing out or missing things because, you know, and I'll tell you a really quick story. It was Lael's first day of school, first day of third grade, just this past year. And on the first day, they had invited the parents to come in for that whole first day and sit, you know, with their kids at the desk. And I had to go. I had to catch a flight, and I could only drop her off. So I'm, you know, arranging her desk and, like, you know, very close to tears. And I'm like, I cannot believe I'm going to miss this day, you know? But I really had to go to a meeting. And I overheard her in the corner with her little girlfriends. And she was like, my mommy's not going to be here today, but she's got this amazing meeting she's going to. And I'm so proud of her. And I can't wait for her to tell me. Girl, I'm about to cry right now. Okay? Because it reinforced for me the example that I'm setting for her. You know, that me sitting next to her in class would be really nice. But me going out in these 120 centimeter stilettos right here and busting down those doors is as equally important as setting an example for her as sitting in that classroom. And so you know what? I walked out of there like that, okay? Yes.
Oh my God. That's the note that we close on. Thank you so much,
Oh, thank
Boz.
you. Go get her,
Yes.
girls. Go get her. So much.